Oh, oh. Welcome back. This is the end of unions, part five under the Trump administration. We deal with Teachers Union and Sean Fain of the UAW today. StreamYard. The reason why I'm so passionate because I'm in the union myself, and under this administration, I see the unions coming to an end because he's winning case after case in the unions as far as foreign workers. He's winning. But anyway, getting to Sean Fain. American labor unionist who has served president of the UAW since March 2023. An electrician by trade, he worked at Stellantis Automotive Plant Parts Plant in Como, Indiana. He has been a UAW member for 29 years and a member of the Reform Caucus, Unite All Workers for Democracy. The members I'm so sick of StreamYard. But what I did know is that he was the first president members. Come on, Holy Ghost, touch this computer. Because if they do it one more time, I'm just going to do it over my phone. So they just appoint all the people. Is that how they do? Wow. Fain was a central figure in the 2023 United Auto Workers. Now, this is what he said when Donald Trump, this week, and people decided to give Donald Trump another term as president of the United States. In democracy, and while it's not an outcome our union advocated for, someone like Leader James, the AG out of New York, and it's not the outcome, a majority of the nation remains the same. We raise the standard of our members, no matter who is in the White House. Going into this election, we heard from our CAP councils, polled our membership, and looked at the records, and know what? A majority, yeah, the choice was clear. It sure was. majority of UAW members were supporting Biden and then voted accordingly. I don't believe that. But for us, this was never about party or personality. As we have said consistently, both parties share blame for one-sided class war that corporate America has waged on our union and on working class Americans for decades, and we stand today where we we or renegotiating the broken USMCA trade deal. We stand for taking on corporations that break their promises to American workers. And we stand against the same things we always stood against. We will never support the destruction of the union movement. We will never support efforts to creed or wealthy or paying for it by cutting crucial federal investments. We are unafraid to confront any politician who takes action that harms the working class, our communities, and our unions. Who stands with the working class. So our mission now is to keep our issues on the table. Our mission is to be loud and clear about where we stand. Our mission is to stop plant closures and the mass exodus of jobs to low-wage, high-exploitation countries. Our mission is to stop the race to the bottom as blue collar workers are liquidated in service of Wall Street paydays. Our mission is to ensure a secure retirement, a living wage, health care, work-life balance for every one of our members and every member of the working class. Today, our members clock into the same jobs they clocked in last week. Oh shoot! Oh my God! I lost home. Jeez. I'm getting there. Damn! How did I do that? Give me a minute. I hit the wrong button. Oh, I'm on the 15th. Lord, I'm on the wrong day. Oh, jeez. I don't know how I did that. Okay, I found the date at least. Okay, here we go. Our union is driven by the same force as outlined in our UAW Constitution society toward the authority or how you're feeling about the results. I encourage each and every one of you to get involved. Our UAW Constitution provides for a CAP rep at every plant, CAP councils in every region, and implores every UAW member to participate in the political process, presidential election. Political action on every level of government in every state, in every sector, has an impact on every contract. Every organizing drive and every stand we win as a union. This union belongs to you, and we want you to get involved today. So get involved. Sincere in solidarity, UAW President Sean Fain. Made during the 2023 contract negotiations, UAW members successfully secured a commitment from the company to do what it agreed to do and invest billions in American autos. When we demanded investment and product commitments in 2023, a lot of people thought we'd never get it. We knew it would be tough. It was our members standing up and going on strike that put the heat on Stellantis and forced them to put what they promised in writing. That contract wasn't delivered, it was fought for and won. Winning the language in a contract to protect our job was only half the battle. The other half is enforcing it. We must hold the company to its word and make sure it doesn't wiggle out of its commitments the minute our backs are turned. That's why UAW members knew last fall we had to take on former Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares. We knew he was standing in the way, and we knew exactly what had to be done. So we organized, fought, ran him out, clearing the path to holding Stellantis accountable because we refused to back down. The union is not just its leaders, its members are the union and they fight to win. I wish my union realized that. The members hold the line. Facts. That's how we get what we deserve and how we make history. And that's exactly what we did to enforce our contract with Stellantis. While the outcome at Stellantis is great news for UAW members, we still have thousands of our members laid off at Stellantis facilities like Warren Truck due to gross mismanagement of the company under Tavares. This year, Stellantis will need to repair and rebuild the trust of workers, dealers, and customers. In addition, manufacturing workers in this country are still getting hammered by bad trade deals that make it far too easy for corporations to ship jobs out of the country and pit American workers against those in other countries. While the UAW believes the aggressive tariff action can be a powerful tool to protect American manufacturing jobs, I kept telling my coworker, Sean Fain is for the tariffs and stop companies like Stellantis from moving jobs out of the U.S. We also believe it must be strategic and actually benefit working people. Trade policy shouldn't be designed for sympathy. Tariffs alone are not a panacea. We need trade policies that stop plant closures, bring back American jobs, and stop the global race to the bottom. And y'all thought Kamala was going to do that? Common sense trade policy could provide opportunities for to invest in communities that have made them profitable for a century. During our Keep the Promise campaign, we learned an important lesson. A contract is only as strong as the workers' will to enforce it. Keeping jobs in the U.S. won't happen automatically. Better trade deals can make the fight easier, but no matter what, UAW members are ready to protect our jobs and communities. Now, this article is on Sean Fail, Fail. Last year, the United Auto Workers Union was riding a wave of positive press in the wake of its high profile strike against Detroit's big three automakers. 12 months later, it seems the union and its president, Sean Fain, have been thrown off their high horse. The union's attempts to escape its corrupt past and unionize new plants have taken serious setbacks this year. And recent layoffs had made the UAW's record contracts with the Big Three lose much of their luster. That is a fact. Appointed Corruption Monitor released a shocking report detailing an investigation into allegations that UAW President's office was engaged in misconduct and retaliation against other members of the UAW Executive Board. To make matters worse, the UAW was also accused by the Monitor of withholding documents needed for investigations. Eventually, a federal court needed to step in to force Fain to hand over the documents. New report by the Monitor about that. The UAW's campaign to expand its membership in the South isn't having much better luck, despite the $40 million committed to it. I did not know they spent $40 million to unionize down south. Good luck with that. The unionization campaign ran into a brick wall after humiliating defeat at the Mercedes-Benz Vance, Alabama plant last May. Since the defeat, the UAW has failed to unionize a single one of the plants in the South. Wow. It's no surprise that auto workers are rejecting unions' invitations, given how Fain's have been treated under the UAW's record contracts. Over the past year, tens of thousands of UAW members have been left at Detroit. Why? They gave all that money. Can't hey, this is going in and out. Hey, boomers. Right. So they losing money, and the company had no choice but to lay off because now they pay them more. This was acting fine. This getting on my nerves. Okay. Um, Over the past year, tens of thousands of UAW members have been laid. The Atlanta's Warren Truck Assembly Plant alone, over 1,000 UAW members were laid off last October around a third of the plant's workforce. Man, as they skip a few hours off. This is getting on my nerves, string y'all. For real. Holy. Fain's his most successful year and a half in the history of this union. Thousands of ladies. Oh my God. StreamYard likely disagree. After a year like this, he was not protecting American jobs. Now, since Trump been in and Fain likes to tears, he is ready to work with Trump weeks after calling him scab. Rather than promoting working class unity, Sean Fain is normalized and give over to Trump's divisive agenda. United Auto Workers President Fain speaks on stage during the first day of the DNC at the United Center on August 19th in Chicago, Illinois. Yeah, I watched that. United Workers President Fain went quiet for a few weeks after Trump was reelected in November. Just a few months ago at the DNC, Fain was calling on workers to rally behind Kamala Harris to defend democracy and deriding Trump as a scab. Though Trump is a capitalist billionaire who would likely repress a picket line than cross one. Facts. Then, in surprise twist, a day before Donald Trump's inauguration, Fain took to the pages of the Washington Post to announce which he has fired the head of the NS. Come on, StreamYard. He's gonna put someone in that position who agrees with his America First agenda. You have to put away your differences and be cordial to do what's best for your people, and that means working with people who you don't like, but he got the money and the bread and the power at this time. Since the results in November, Trump has been pronouncing his reactionary day one agenda with attacks on immigrants, trans people at the top of his list. He's been stacking his cabinet with billionaires, warmongers, with politics antithetical to the interests of the working class. That's not true. Indeed, Trump has been promising mass deportations, cuts to public services and education, massive public sector layoffs, and the approval of noxious oil and gas drilling projects. He's playfully threatened to annex entire countries and has recruited tech capitalists like Mark Zuckerberg to allow hate speech to flourish while going after the enemies from within. He's painted himself as a savior of TikTok and the broker of very limited ceasefire, like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, David Sachs, and Peter Thiel. The Wall Street Journal reported that 12 trillion in market value was standing behind Trump's during his inauguration. Wow, 12 trillion. Shocks the country from auto workers to adjacent faculty to healthcare workers would have called out these reactionary attacks and called on workers to mobilize and fight back as one of the most significant figures in the new progressive labor bureaucracy. He certainly has an influence. After all, Fain rose in the fall of 2023 for leading auto workers at the Big Three in a strike that, despite being top down and bureaucratic, made serious gains for workers. That strike put the working class center stage. Biden courted the working class, sitting president to walk a picket line while the UAW coyly with fans eat the rich gear and rhetoric, he became an appealing figure for New York. Damn! And on the left, his positions as an individual, but as a reflection of the heightened aspirations of the working class, beaten by neoliberalism and the pandemic, and increasingly willing to fight back. As recently as last spring, the UAW funding to Mexican auto workers organizing independent union efforts. In May, Fain was met with standing ovation at the conference finale of Labor Notes in Chicago for a speech that uplifted and defended immigrant workers. Wow. Wow. Even though they're going to take your union job. He defended immigrant workers who going to take your union job and don't care about lower pay. Wow. But now, in the face of pressures from incoming Trump presidency, Fain is pumping the brakes. He joins alongside billionaire capitalist and Democratic Party Bernie Sanders in currying favor with Trump. Rather than resisting imminent attacks against the democratic rights of workers, he supposedly represents by calling for mass working class mobilization. Unity he is normalizing and giving labor cover to Trump's Divisive America First program. Moreover, he is demobilizing the indispensable working class intervention in the movement against the far right. Some may play down this capitalization on part of Fain by justifying his focus on bread and butter issues or by claiming he is merely playing the game. But this is undoubtedly a major shift to the right, especially given that Teamster President Sean O'Brien, and that is so true. You know what? I need to I'm glad I got his name. Sean O'Brien. I'm gonna talk about him next. Not today. He sure have Trump. In July he became the first Teamster president to speak. He became the first union president to speak at one of Trump's rallies. A few days ago, O'Brien even attended Trump's inauguration, which was funded by union busting tech billionaires. Let's be clear, while Fain has represented a progressive phenomenon, this latest development is not surprising given the union's bureaucracy relationship to the state. Shortly before he was murdered in 1940 and in the midst of World War III, Russian revolutionary Leon Trotsky was working on analyzing cooperation with trade unions by implicit states, the rise of fascism and the failure of reformist and Stalinist leadership to defend workers. Trade unions in the most important branches of industry find themselves deprived of the possibility of profiting by the competition between different enterprises. They have to confront a centralized capitalist adversary, intimate power. Hence flows the need of trade unions insofar as they remain on reformist positions of adapting themselves to private property, to adapt themselves to the capitalist state, and to contend for its cooperation. This is a good article. Restrain their fights within the framework of capitalism, muzzling the potential of self organized rank and file to spark militant class struggle that could threaten capitalist stability and demonstrate they are in peacetime and especially in the time of war. We are seeing this play out with Fain before our very eyes. In his opted Fain superficially reactionary politics in half a sentence, but much of his agenda he finished sitcom to find common ground. Fain spends the rest of the article adapting to Trump's chauvinistic ideas and supporting Trump's protectionist agenda to exuberate the country's economy. competition between U.S., Mexican, Chinese, and other workers. For example, he criticizes Trump U.S. Canada not for its come on, let's get on my nerve. Not for its imperial subordination of the Mexican economy and working class, but rather for increasing the U.S. trade deficit with Mexico. But rather for increasing the U.S. trade deficit with Mexico. Dang, these were some good article. Mexican workers later in the article and makes this usual dig at corporations for rigging the deck. He keeps the rhetoric within America First framework by first and foremost prioritizing the American workers who are dealt a losing hand. He then goes on to call tariffs a necessary tool to serve national working class interests. Fain is for the tariffs. It is clear that Fain's vision of the working class does not extend beyond U.S. borders, even if tariffs did help American workers. But they don't, and that's a lie. They will. That's a lie. I disagree. As we recently wrote in a joint statement with our comrades across North, Central, and South America, it's the workers who face trade unions are an opportunity for businessmen and corporations to cut labor rights, wages, and advance the precariousness of working class. Likewise, the imposition of tariffs leads to higher prices in some, but reciprocal tariffs they won't. They'll be the same. Affecting the price of goods and services purchased by working people. His entire framework obscures the fact that national borders are really an artificial divide that capitalist governments use to oppose workers and pit us against each other. While Fain's logic not only subordinates the working class aboard to one at home, it totally ignores the internal divisions within the United States. Attacking labor rights will first affect the most precarious workers who are disproportionately black, brown, and immigrant. Yet Fain's article says nothing in defense of immigrant workers. I don't. I'm not going to say nothing about it because they will work for lower pay. Get them out of here. They will work for lower and they will take your union job. Period. Period. I ain't got no sympathy. No, I don't. Yet Fain's article says nothing in defense of immigrant, and I have nothing to say for go home. Oh yeah, I got that. I got that. I seen that. I seen that. Yep. I seen that. Now anyway, I'm talking about the unions, who along with being Trump's number one scapegoat and first on his chopping block constitute 20% of the US working class. Time traveler, did you send me an email? Because I didn't see it. By promising to work together with the Trump administration, he is sowing illusions and imperialism to concede slightly better conditions for the working class. You are supposed to be cordial and work with whoever's in power to get the things you need for your membership, fool. That I totally disagree with that statement. Illusions that are increasingly idealistic as the political situation veers to the right and there is less political pressure to give even lip service to the rights of the oppressed. Fain's optic demonstrates the limits of the labor bureaucracy, even those who speak to the progressive aspirations of the working class. While the capitalists exploit, deport, and even kill our class siblings, they try to find common ground with the politicians who represent the interests of those very same capitalists. You're supposed to find common ground with whoever in power. Facts. Fain justifies his stance by writing that the UAW needs to be at the table to have our concerns addressed. That's a fact. You do. in the renegotiations of the USMCA. You do need to be at the table, but the working class deserves more than simply knowing our union leaderships have a seat at the table, while the rights of workers they represent are okay. We deserve democratic rank and file discussions and decision rankings rather than top down decrees. We need bottom up organizing. Rather than separating the economic from the political, we need to unite our interconnected struggles. The stance by Fain shows us once again that we can't depend on the current union leaders or progressive Democrats to do that for us. We have to do it ourselves by organizing from our workplaces and schools with class independence. Fain has called for wages indexed to inflation and the reduction of work week, which have contributed to the working class. To address low wages, overwork, injuries, and the continued precarization of the working class, we need to continue to mobilize workers towards these demands. In a moment where many are looking for working class political alternatives, these adaptations to the right were shifting status quo sets back the movement. Mm. But the firepower of the labor movement has always been the workers. That's a fact. We're the ones who can bring society to a halt because we're the ones who run it. That is a fact. In the face of Trump's regime, it would take the rank and file working class united across race, gender, tiers, immigration status, and borders. Okay, UAW President Fain shows support for President Trump's tariffs as he should. Tariffs will be good for manufacturing, which include 25% levies on automobiles and supporting parts. The union leader is one of the only high profile supporters of the trade policy in the auto industry. Tariffs aren't the end solution, but they are a huge factor in creating and fixing a problem. I agree. I agree. Me and Fain agree on something. Okay, this is about, let me see if it's anything that. The hemorrhaging of jobs in America for the last 33 years, Fain said on NBC this week, referring to the implementation of the North American Free Trade Agreement in 1992. Tears aren't the end solution, but they are a huge factor in creating and fixing the problem. That's a fact. The United States Mexico trade agreement was paused until April 2nd, but I think it's still paused. I don't think they went to the table. Fain said he has not spoken directly with Trump, but he has been working with his team. Fain said it's up to companies to handle any additional costs that may occur because of tariffs. He said, but if corporate America chooses to price gouge the American consumer or attack the American worker because they don't want to pay their fair share, corporate America bears the blame for that decision. Yeah, I seen that the Zell guy. I have that movie. If it's the same one I seen, it's about 2 hours. Oh, look for your name in the subject. Okay, that's fine. Send it. Fain is one of the only high profile supporters of Trump's tariffs among automotive leaders. I support his tariffs too. As if they reciprocal, we'll be fine. Because China been kicking our ass. President Trump has talked a lot about making our U.S. auto industry stronger, bringing more production here, more motivation in the U.S., and his administration can achieve that. Well, he has brought a lot of jobs, but they all went down south because unions is up north. They all moved down south, and that's a fact. The most signature accomplishment was for CEO Jim Farley said last month. Fain and Trump have been at odds and publicly trading remarks since the union leader was elected 2023. Trump called for Fain to be fired during a speech last year at the Republican National Convention. He did. Fain has regularly called Trump a scab and billionaire who doesn't care about American workers, which is not true, but his comments on Trump show his stance may have been softened. The election is over. Donald Trump is the president. We want to get to work to fix the problems that are wrong in this country, Fain said, and American people expect that. They expect leaders to stand up and lead. They don't expect us to sit back. Now, following a year-long investigation to the union, UAW involving embezzlement, bribery, and other charges ahead of Fain's election, the probe resulted in several convictions of union leaders and Fiat Chrysler executives, including two past union presidents convicted of bribery, fraud, embezzlement. Mm. Federal monitor Neil Barsky last year disclosed an investigation into Fain as well as other union leaders accusing them of obstructing the probe and interfering to access information. And that's right, they had to sue Fain for him to release those documents. In January, the monitor's office said it would provide further updates on its investigation activities in another report. Okay, unions are experiencing a surge in popularity, especially among Generation Z. That messed me up. I didn't think they cared about nothing. Who are more pro union than previous generations. Strike activity has increased significantly with a large number of strikes in 2023. While union membership has declined, public approval of unions remains high. Employers often resist unionization efforts, leading to legal challenges and difficulties. True. Strict labor laws and legal challenges can make it difficult for unions to organize and represent workers. Globalization and changing nature of the economy pose challenges for unions. Unions advocate for higher wages, better benefits, improved working conditions for their members. That's a fact. Unions play a crucial role in protecting worker rights, ensuring fair treatment, and promoting workplace safety. I agree with that. Unions are seen as a way to address economic inequality. Unions increase political participation, ensure the middle class is represented. Unions are actively organizing workers in various industries, including gig economy and tech. In summary, unions face a dynamic environment with both opportunities and challenges. While public support is growing among younger generations, unions must overcome obstacles like declining membership, employer opposition, and legal hurdles to continue their role in advocating for workers' rights and improving workers' conditions. Generation Zs are eager to organize, are winning union gains for themselves in workplace nationwide. And these are individuals born in 1997 or higher. Oh, okay. Okay, let me see. Generation Zers not only report higher rates of economic anxiety, but also have demonstrated more progressive attitudes than older generations. This has translated to more on ground organizing successes of Generation Z's lead union campaigns at their workplaces, which in turn have enabled young workers to reap the economic benefits of union membership. Both Generation Zers and millennials are more pro union and than older generations were at their age. Millennials have consistently been more pro union than Gen Xers or baby boomers since they began entering the workforce in 2000. And Generation Zers are more pro union since they first started entering the workforce in 2016. Gen Zers are most supportive of unions with a mean approval of 64.3%. Millennials 60.5%. Gen Xers, that's me, 57.8%. And baby boomers 57.2%. College educated adults are generally less pro union than the working class, defined as workers with a 4-year degree. Gen Z shows a near partisan gap with nearly no working class gap. This narrowing divides, along with greater racial and ethnic diversity of younger generations, may contribute to the overall greater pro union attitudes of Generation Z compared with other generations. All right, let's hurry up now. I'm still on here. I'm gonna have to get ready to go to work. Okay, now we're going into the teachers union strike.
Nationwide call to action about proposed cuts to the education department. It's designed to sound an alarm about President Trump's plan to do away with wasteful spending. Thanks for joining us here at 5:30. I'm Chris Jacobs.
And I'm Ashley Kirkland. Local union leaders and parents believe critical services are at risk, and they're gathering at tonight's Cincinnati School Board meeting, where WLWT News Flash John London is live right now. John, what have you heard so far?
Ashley, what they're hoping for is a rise in awareness about how education money is spent. This is going to be, of course, a public meeting here tonight at the school board, and they'll use the public comment portion of the meeting to try to win over the court of public opinion about education funding. President Trump believes the U.S. Department of Education is a waste, and he wants it eliminated. His idea is to turn education over to the states.
Right, me
According
too.
to the Ohio Education Policy Institute, Governor Mike DeWine's proposed budget would cut funding for the public schools by more than $100 million over the next 2 years. More money go out programs and schools.
One of the things in the budget bill, which you cannot repeal, is any building that's under 60% capacity, the state can take over that building and close it down.
This is a crisis. This is a crisis like we've never seen it before.
Teachers Union organizer Michelle Dunn shows me a list of what's at stake. Take just one area. $559 million for speech services, reading support, and access for those with disabilities, some of Ohio's most vulnerable students.
those with special needs, those who live in poverty. These are the very federal dollars that help, close those gaps for those students so that they can be successful.
Dunn and others contend funding is already insufficient. On a daily basis, there are roughly 3,000 CPS students who are homeless. Union leaders want the school board to adopt a community resolution against any further cuts as a way to draw attention to what's at stake.
We need educators at the table to influence some of the decisions that are impacting education.
School board President Crane Moffat spoke to us this afternoon.
Services. It's irresponsible. It's disrespectful. And I'm almost going to say, I personally think it's neglectful.
Now, the CFT is organizing what it calls a clap-in for tomorrow morning, applauding students as they arrive to class. And then labor leaders intend to hold a media briefing tomorrow afternoon, just to show them where Vice President J.D. Vance lives in Walnut Hills, to say, instead of tax cuts to billionaires, as they put it, plow more money into Ohio schools. Live at the school board, John London, WLWT, News 5.
John, what does
once the part is handled by the states, you can get more funding. You'll get more funding.
Cincinnati Teachers Union is hitting the panic button. They told the CPS school board to fight back over what they call an assault on public education. It has to do with proposed funding cuts at the federal and state levels. WCPO 9 News reporter Andrew Rowan breaks down their concerns ahead of a day of action tomorrow.
DOJ and the administration make it sound as if dismantling a bureaucracy will have no collateral damages to our students.
The Cincinnati Federation of Teachers Monday night stepping up to the mic in front of the CPS board to deliver a lesson in government.
The time is now to stand up and fight back against school privatization efforts and Trump-proof this district.
At the same time in Washington, the nomination is confirmed. The Senate confirmed former WWE CEO Linda McMahon to lead the Department of Education. Her first task is to help dismantle it.
Oh, I'd like it to be closed immediately. Look, the Department of Education's a big con job.
President Trump
I
wants to send
agree.
the money back to the states. But Governor DeWine's budget proposal cuts funding for public schools while increasing it for voucher programs and charter schools.
I implore this Board of Education to get active.
The union members sitting front row believe the cuts could mean vulnerable students lose programs like speech therapy.
Without those programs, our students will suffer and their parents will not be able to provide the needed assistance for them.
Our hands are tied because it doesn't make sense to come out against something that's not final. But once it is final, and it will be final soon, and once we can see that there's a more definitive direction of where they're going with regard to their cuts, then I think we'll be a little bit more vocal.
The board itself is in a holding pattern because the cuts either haven't been finalized or haven't been announced yet.
We all know the squeeze is coming, and that is exactly what the people who are trying to decimate and dismantle public education intend.
A blurry future, giving cutting class a whole new meaning.
I ask that you stand with us to protect our kids publicly, to denounce these cuts.
Andrew Rowan, WCPO 9 News.
Listen, the government has failed each and every one of our kids through public education for the last 30 years. It's not like when I was in school. It's not like any of that. The states will be able to better handle their public school education because they better know the demographics within their state and what they need.
From early childcare to K through 12, teachers have an urgent need for federal and state investments. And today, a sea of red took over the state capitol and legislative office building. It was the day of action for public education. Fox 61's Kayla Cade spoke with advocates who say it's time to invest in our kids. They were here in the LOB in the red fighting for public education. The president of CEA says they are standing up for more than 500,000 students students and families who are impacted by the services of public education.
This is not a teacher issue. This is a community issue. This is a legislative issue. This is a children's issue.
Connecticut Education Association Union President Kate Diaz led a march from Oak Street to the Legislative Office building. Teachers joined her, dressed in red jackets for education. After the march, they spoke about the potential funding cuts in public schools and addressed the need to invest in our students.
We need to understand that these are people, that every single dollar is a person that is being helped.
Congresswoman Johanna Hayes told the CEA more than $330 billion are at risk of being cut from federal programs. Teachers said they fear these cuts will severely impact programs that support low-income students, early childhood education, and children with disabilities.
If these grants are cut, our most vulnerable kids are in danger, and the efficacy of public schools is under attack.
Fran Rabinowitz with the Superintendents Association said eliminating federal funding for best practice research is a major step backwards.
We need to be on the cutting edge of what works. Research does that for us. We need to continue to be national and international leaders in educating every child.
I also think that they need to take seriously the proposal we've put forward to raise salaries for educators. That's important in terms of retention and keeping our buildings full of teachers.
In Hartford, Kayla Cade, Fox 61.
Okay, all right. Damn, I hit the wrong one.
Welcome back to America Decides. Thanks for staying with us. The Department of Education's Washington and regional offices are closed today. But when they reopen, employees coming back to work, well, many of them will be returning for just a little more than a week. More than 1,000 are being placed on leave beginning March 21st. Sharia Smith joins me now. She is the president of the American Federation of Government Employees Local 252, represents employees of the Department of Education. Sharia, it's great to have you with us. Two questions. How are your employees doing? And what are their jobs now that they're not going to have in the not too distant future?
We have not been doing well. We haven't been doing well since January 21st. Even though my colleagues and I really wanted to work with this administration, as we have worked with previous administrations, including the first Trump administration, we have not been allowed to. And yesterday, for 969 of us, well, at least the non-managers, we have officially received notice that we cannot work for the American public through the U.S. Department of Education starting in June. And this is just another blip on a reign of terror on the American people and the federal workforce in this administration. And it's extremely unprofessional and extremely cruel.
Do you have legal recourse?
Yeah, of course we do. And I'm a lawyer by trade. I was a litigator before. What we've learned from the previous terminations and changes in working conditions is that this has been unfairly borne by women and employees of color. So, and women and employees of color were disproportionately placed on administrative leave for roles they did not perform for alleged DEI activity starting in January. And we're now analyzing the numbers and the characteristics of those who have been laid off yesterday to see if we have other concerning trends. But as a litigator, we recognize that lawsuits are not immediate. You file a lawsuit and it takes years. We've had to unfortunately file lawsuits against the first Trump administration when they acted illegally, and we did not receive recourse for some time. So we're absolutely analyzing the data that we have. We just received this information yesterday to avail ourselves of the best recourse. But one of the things that everyone can do, your viewers can do today is let their members of Congress and senators know that this behavior is unacceptable. It is unacceptable to disrupt the services that they receive without so much of a plan to continue it. It is unacceptable to fire almost half of a workforce for doing their job without any explanation of how the work that we've tried to perform, that we performed in the last administration and the last Trump administration, how it's going to continue. Completely irresponsible and illegal.
The president, as you know, Sharia, says frequently that he wants education to go back to the states. You know as well as I do, probably better, that states have the largest budget allocation for education through 12. What mostly the Federal Department of Education does is deal with Pell Grants, student loans, special education funding that goes to the state, and Title I funding to underserved schools across the country. What are your employees who are affected by these termination notices? Are they involved in all of those various tasks, and will those services suffer as a result?
Yes, they're all involved in all those services suffer. I'm not just a lawyer, I'm a former teacher in the state of Texas. And when I taught in the classroom, everything, my curriculum, the test I administered to my students was dictated by by the state of Texas. And it is extremely frustrating to hear people in the highest office blame my colleagues and I for low test scores and curriculum when that is not what we do. And then in the same breath say that those things need to be returned to the states. They are intentionally misguiding the American public. Those things are already with the state. When they are trying to eliminate our agency, what they are eliminating is oversight and additional funding to the states. They want the same states that they are saying have low test scores and have terrible curriculum to now operate without any oversight. That sounds extremely problematic to me. And when we talk to detractors of the U.S. Department of Education, like the congressman in the 26th District of Texas, their staff members, when we ask those questions, I think that are verifiable, they've conveniently got off camera.
Sharia Smith, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Welcome back to America Decides. Thanks for staying with us. The Department of Education's Washington and regional offices are closed today. But when they reopen,
I think I just read that.
coming back to
Oh, yeah, that was the same one. I had that twice. So, I can take that off.
Thanks for staying with us. The Department of Education's
Oh, this is the same one. Oh, I can get rid of that. Okay, cool. Okay, now that's gone. Let me get rid of that. We done with that. I think I got it here. Well, I had it here. Hopefully it's still here. Nope, of course it ain't there. Maybe I could find it on this phone quicker than on the other one. Hold up. Because I want to be done with this. We got to get ready to go. Go to work. But I think the state can can do better with education than the government has. We last on the list when it comes to educating our people, and we have to go outside of the United States to get professionals to come in for medicine, computers, for engineering, for everything. Okay, I'm on here now. Okay, I'm here. They're rolling back. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna deal with that.
Today, U.S. Postal Service workers in Metro Atlanta will gather to speak out against privatizing their service. It comes as
You know
President
what?
Trump
I think
considers-
I'm gonna end this here. I'm gonna end this here because that's all. Because that's going into the postal workers, and I'm gonna come back because I got an article on the postal workers. All right, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment.